Last week, I made a video about my appointment at AIMA and some of the processes that are in place there. I believe the video got shadow banned because sometimes the powers that be here don't like controversial, hot button topics, despite the fact that I did not say anything controversial. Well, that's going to change today. My name is Howie. This is Positively Portugal. Let's get into it. Last Monday, April 7th, there was a protest at AIMA by more than 100 Asian immigrants. Before we go any further, I'm going to give credit here to the Portugal News. I'm going to be reading some excerpts from this article. I do not endorse the Portugal News because they are a pro-socialist, pro-communist news outlet. But it's in English, and therefore it's convenient for me. So this is a free article. I know I am not infringing upon any copyrights. So I'm going to read a little bit about this now. Oh, and before I even start reading about that, I want to say one thing. You are a guest. This is not your country. I'm going to say this repeatedly throughout this video. I'm going to hammer it home to the point where you are sick of hearing it. You are a guest. It is not your country. So, more than 100 Asian immigrants gathered in front of the Agency for Integration, Migration, and Asylum, AIMA, in Lisbon to protest against the lack of responses from the Portuguese authorities and demanding equal rights for all. First of all, you're a guest. This is not your country. You don't make any demands here. Now, the four main phrases that were chanted: equal rights for all. Well, when you are talking about residents, a country does not have to give equal rights for all. They can give more rights to people from countries who they have better relations with, whether they're through trade agreements or military alliances. That is their prerogative. A country does not have to give equal rights to people who are looking to move there. We are all legal. No, you aren't. Those who are legal are legal. Those who are illegal are illegal. Is this really hard to understand? No more waiting. That's none of your business. I was told it should take 90 working days, which is about 120 days, 4 months, for an answer to my residence permit. But they use the word should, not will. If it takes longer, it takes longer. The end. You know why? Because you're a guest. This is not your country. Residence for all. The hell does that mean? You want to let anybody into the country? Maybe they're mental patients. Maybe they're mass murderers. Maybe they're terrorists. You want to let everyone into the country. Residence for all. No. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in Portugal. It doesn't work that way in the United States, where I'm from. It doesn't work that way anywhere. You have no right to have residence in any country other than your own. Why? Because you are a guest. It is not your country. This protest was promoted by something called the Immigrant Solidarity Association. What strikes me as interesting here is that you're this new to a country, and already you're involved in organized protests. I don't like this. I don't like that. Why don't you just stay home? Why don't you just use that energy that you have because you certainly have more energy than I do. Use that energy to change things in your country of origin. You got to understand there are policies, processes, procedures, customs that are in place. And it doesn't matter if you don't like them. Do you know why it doesn't matter? Because you are a guest. This is not your country. Speaking to journalists, the association's president, Timoteo Macedo, criticized the agreement recently signed between the Portuguese state and employers for hiring in countries of origin, known as Via Verde, saying that in this way workers will be enslaved and in the hands of employers. A little dramatic, huh? So now it's not just that you're protesting the amount of time that things take. You're crying fake tears of racism, fake tears of discrimination. Now you're complaining about governmental policies, or not policies, but agreements that were signed. Where is this protest going? Like, how many things can you possibly protest in one organized protest? In previous statements to the Lusa news agency, the parasite of the association, again, my mistake, the president of the association said that they have collected many complaints from immigrants from Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, and India. Those that the Portuguese state does not want to accept, he said. Okay, so that's not true, because if Portugal did not want to accept people from these countries, they just wouldn't offer the program to people from those countries. And they can be very public about that, because this is not a matter of everyone just gets to come and go as they please. Again, every country has their friends, their trading partners, their military alliances. If they didn't want people from those countries, they just wouldn't make those applications available, and they would outright say that. Well, that's never happened in Portugal. There's not that kind of discrimination here. You want to cry, it's racist. It's not racist. And we've fallen into that trap as a society where if we're not in agreement 100% with what someone else is yelling and screaming and hooting and hollering about, then we're labeled as someone discriminatory, as a racist. Everything is racist now. Breathing the air is racist. Saying good morning is racist. Well, guess what? If everything is racist, then not a damn thing is actually racist. You want to see real racism? Well, it ain't happening within AIMA. Just look next door. See the kind of crap that goes on in Spain. Go to a football stadium. See the hell that Vinicius Jr. has to endure every single road game when people are making monkey noises at him, calling him mono, the Spanish word for monkey. Some are even throwing banana peels or using the N word in English. That is racism. And that's not getting called out enough. And part of the reason that's not getting called out enough is because regular people who are just living their lives are being labeled racist when they haven't done anything racist, to the point where the word racism has no meaning. Everyone is now desensitized to it. So these immigrants from Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, India, do you really believe that you're being discriminated against, that you're victims of racism? You know damn well that you don't believe that. Because if you did, you wouldn't be looking to come here. You wouldn't be looking to stay in Portugal. You're saying whatever you're saying because it's convenient for you, because it forces people to listen, no matter how untrue it is. And we all know what's going on in reality. You just didn't want to do things the right way. You didn't make your appointment at AIMA. You didn't show up with proper documentation. You didn't show up with a completed application. You're making everything take longer, not just for yourselves, but for people like me who went about things the right way. I had my AIMA appointment made. I had my documentation. I had my completed application. Should it really take 4 months to get an answer? No, it shouldn't. But because of people who cannot or will not do things the right way, it does. And maybe it comes back that my application for the 2-year residence permit doesn't get approved. Well, I can be pissed off about it. I'd be upset. Actually, I will be. And I'll make at least one video about it if that does happen. But at the end of the day, I am a guest. This is not my country. It might be, it could be, in 5 years or so, I have to get my 2-year residence permit approved. I have to get the 3-year residence permit renewal approved. Then I can apply to be either a permanent resident or a Portuguese citizen. And that's what I'll do if all goes well, if all goes the way I hope. Not the way I planned, because I'm a realist. I always believe that something can go wrong. I also believe in Murphy's Law, that if something can go wrong, no matter how small the probability of that happening is, then it will. But I can't sit here and blame Portugal if they move the goalposts, if they change the rules. Because they're moving goalposts and they're changing the rules because there are way too many people who are not doing things the right way. And yeah, I can bitch, moan, and groan. I can complain until the cows come home, but it won't change the fact that until I become a permanent resident or a citizen, I am a guest. It is not my country. There are way too many people who forget that or just don't want to accept that. And if that's the case, why are you bothering? Because if everything goes well and you become a permanent resident or a citizen, you're going to resent people who come here and pull the same nonsensical stunts that you're pulling. Now, one of the other things that I read about online was there are immigrants who need to make a trip back home and feel that they won't be allowed back into Portugal during the waiting process. Well, you know what? I had that initial concern. So I reached out to the company that helped me move here, Viv Europe, and they just gave me the email address for AIMA. I was told it's a common occurrence. Just drop them an email, explain the situation, and that you're not going to have a problem getting back in. Because they didn't have a problem getting back in when it happened to them. They were in the same situation. This was in a time when people actually had personal responsibility, when they weren't crying and complaining about every little thing that doesn't go their way, like we are now. So I have to go back to New York in May. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an email to AIMA explaining my situation. And actually, I'll explain that to you right here. The reason that I have to go back to New York next month is when you come from the United States, maybe it's from other countries as well, but when you come from the United States, if you want to get that initial 4-month D8 digital nomad visa, you have to get traveler's insurance. In order to get traveler's insurance, you have to have a return trip booked to the United States. Now, this is completely contradictory to what AIMA actually wants, which is for you to stay in Portugal, or I guess at least in the Schengen zone, while you're applications being processed. And yeah, it's contradictory. It doesn't make any sense. But for God's sake, there's no part of me that says, oh, I need to protest this. I need to make a spectacle of myself. I need to make an ass of myself. And you know why no part of me says that? Because this is not my country. I am a guest. And maybe you'll come back to me and you'll say, well, I didn't use Viv Europe. I did this myself. Well, you shouldn't have done that. Because in case you haven't been made aware or haven't learned on your own, this is not easy. This has been a very difficult process. It's going to continue to be a very difficult process. You should always seek the help of a professional. I can't recommend Viv Europe enough, or at least use a company that has the services that Viv Europe offers. And please do not say anything to me like, well, I don't have that kind of money for Viv Europe. Well, first of all, it didn't cost as much as you think it would. And secondly, if you don't have the money to get help in this situation, then you really don't have the money to move to another country, whether that be Portugal or anywhere else. This is all something that falls upon the individual. This is not a matter of racism. It's not a matter of discrimination. It's a matter of doing things the right way. And if you don't want to do things the right way, or if you can't do things the right way, then you need to stay where you're from. So I want to thank you all for watching. If you want more videos about moving to Portugal, the process of getting here, Portuguese football, anything Portugal related, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. These are the best things you can do to help a content creator on YouTube. I want to thank you all for watching, and I really can't say this enough. Be an adult. Until you're not a guest, you are a guest. Until Portugal is your country, then Portugal is not your country.